Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Probably my last of my main stream videos of the evening. There probably will be one more, very short, at about 6:30. I've highlighted that before. I gave a heads up earlier, where I'm going to give the link to a video you won't want to miss. So if you don't want to miss the video you won't want to miss, do press the subscribe button because you won't want to miss it. I'm starting to sound like Sir Humphrey Appleby. Anyway, the video we've got here is about Humza Yousaf, just for a change. But this one is one of his big hypocrisies. This is where he is going to meet, or has met actually, with a Chinese diplomat to talk trade and tourism. And this, of course, is a man, the Chinese diplomat, who represents a country that has concentration camps, that has no real freedom of press, freedom of expression. It treats its people appallingly. There are massive human rights problems. And yet Humza Yousaf seems to think it's okay to meet with them, whilst at the same time bemoaning the human rights abuses, as he sees it, by Israel and Hamas. It's funny how he can castigate one and yet bum up to the other. Seems okay for Chinese human abuses, but not anyone else's. Something to do with money, perhaps. Who knows? Maybe he's just scared of the Chinese. But we'll take a look at this, see what's going on and see why he is so chummy with the Chinese. Here goes. So Humza Yousaf meets with Chinese diplomat about trade and tourism amid fears over human rights abuses in China. Well, we know that there are concentration camps. They put the Rohingya Chinese, which is this Muslim branch, and they put them into big concentration camps. They treat them appallingly. And you'd think with him being a good Muslim, he would not be chumming it up with a regime that treats Muslims so badly that they have to put them into concentration camps. Although, of course, the SNP has a good history with people who deal with concentration camps, so perhaps it's not unexpected. It's just unexpected that it would be concentration camps with Muslims in. But hey, the First Minister boasted about welcoming a Chinese diplomat into Bute House in Edinburgh. And he was asked if he was vocal about human rights abuses in the communist country as he was about those issues in the Middle East. And of course the answer will be no, he daren't, he won't. That takes a spine. He hasn't got one of those, has he? So he has been urged to be as vocal about alleged human rights abuses in China as he is about events in the Middle East, as he revealed he met a Chinese diplomat on Tuesday. The First Minister welcomed Zhang Bao, I'm presuming that's how it's pronounced from my knowledge of Chinese, the Chinese Consulate General in Edinburgh, to Bute House. China's relationship with the UK has been rocky in recent years, although we somehow haven't managed to stop buying stuff from them. And with the UK Parliament issuing a report last July, which warned that Westminster government has been slow to come to terms with the security risks of Beijing. He said it appears that China has a high level of intent to interfere with the UK government, targeting officials and bodies at a range of levels to influence UK political thinking and decision making relevant to China. We can screw China overnight. China needs to create millions of jobs every year just to stand still. If we stop buying Chinese stuff for a day, it would completely screw their economy. And indeed, their economy is already massively suffering. They have got a 1 trillion, or was it 2 trillion pound debt bubble about to burst. They really don't know how to deal with it. And it could end up being a worldwide recession for a couple of years. If this goes, China would be massively in problem. One of the big problems, of course, they've got is that everyone in China wants a nice job. They don't want to go and work in the countryside and be peasants anymore. Those days have gone. China's struggling to feed itself, and with water supplies drying up along the Yellow and the Yangtze, it's going to run into a big problem. It's also going to run into a problem with the population time bomb. All those one-child families are all hitting that era when those children should be having children of their own, and strangely aren't. There's going to be a big population decline in China over the next 20 to 30 years. Working age, but a huge retired age. Going to suck. Anyway, a parliamentary researcher was also one of 2 men arrested in September for allegedly spying for China, which led to calls for the country to be categorised as a threat Always beware China. China's always been a threat. These accusations were rebuffed by China, who called it malicious slander. Oh no, they didn't. If you can get a Chinese man to say malicious slander, I'll eat my hat. They have problems with that term. Malicious slander from a Chinese? No. If you truly want to upset a Chinaman, ask him to name a particular butterfly, which is called Meleagris. What is it? Fritillaria. A parliamentary researcher was also one of 2 men arrested in September for allegedly spying for China, which led to calls for the country to be categorised as a threat. China has always been a threat. The accusations were rebuffed by China, who called it a malicious slander. I don't believe that for a minute. There's no way a Chinese person could say the words malicious slander. In fact, if you truly want to have a good time, ask a Chinese person to mention a type of butterfly called a Meleagris Fritillaria meleagris. Meleagris fritillaria? Meleagris fritillaria. You watch them try and mangle that. It's fun to watch. Anyway, Mr. Yousaf boasted on social media that he had welcomed Zhang Bao to Butte House for their first meeting, presumably not to talk about concentration camps and all those Muslims locked up in them. Unless, of course, he was taking advice on how to build concentration camps. That's quite a different matter, given their history, and it's the sort of thing that they want. Only they're going to call them 15-minute cities. But we know effectively it is concentration camps. They discussed ways to build on the valuable relationships between Scotland and China, specifically in the areas of education, tourism, climate change and trade. Really? Really? Is there a lot of Chinese people going to Scotland? Who knows? In terms of climate change, well, here's the thing. Close down Scotland forever and it will make not one jot of difference, because China is opening up something like 26 coal-fired power stations every year. It's wiping out Scotland like that. Doesn't matter what Scotland does. He did not talk about climate change. As a matter of policy, in fact, China never, ever discussed climate change. They don't do it. It doesn't exist to the Chinese, and they will not enter it. They consider it to be an insult if you bring climate change up in a conversation with Chinese officials. So that's a bullshit line. Opposition rivals have queried this summit and urged him to reveal what else had been discussed, including whether human rights abuses reported in China had been talked about. Of course not. That takes someone with a spine. This includes a civil rights crackdown in Hong Kong and the imprisonment of democracy campaigner Jimmy Lai. Scottish Lib Dem leader Alex ColeHamilton told the Scottish Daily Express the First Minuscule has been vocal about the situation in the Middle East, and I hope he's used this meeting to be equally vocal about the horrific abuses taking place in Xinjiang. That, of course, Xinjiang is where the concentration camps are. It's the imprisonment of prominent democracy campaigner Jimmy Lai and the intimidation of pro-Hong Kong activists in Scotland. And of course there was the Poo Lang, or the shit poo, or whatever it was called, which was that Chinese takeaway, and that was a front for the Chinese secret police. Has that been addressed? Or is that another thing that Humza Yousaf will not say because of his tiny, tiny lack of balls? Probably. He said it's right that the First Minister engages with international partners, but reducing this relationship to trade and tourism is to sell human rights down the river. He said, last year I led the first Scottish Parliament debate on Chinese state surveillance because I believe that it is time for a comprehensive investigation into the reach of the Chinese state in Scotland to take place. Indeed, they need to basically be banned. They should be seen as enemy state. Mr. Yousaf has been outspoken on a number of worldwide issues, and nobody knows why, because he knows bugger all about any of them, including the war between Israel and Hamas, although he, of course, is firmly on the side of Hamas. He has repeatedly demanded that Rishi Sunak call for a ceasefire, although it's nothing to do with Rishi Sunak, and attacked the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, but that's only because he's an anti-Semite, accusing him of going way beyond the legitimate response to the October 7th atrocities. So at least he's calling them an atrocity. But what is the response? If someone had kidnapped your people, would you just stop and say, well, okay, we've done enough. The ones you've got, you can keep, you can murder them. Or do you keep going until you get them back? Because I know what the answer is. Oh, there he is, So there he goes. He's sucking the arse of the Chinese, kissing the yellow ring, and yet dare not mention the real issues, human rights and concentration camps and things like that, because, you know, spineless little wanker. Anyway, I shall stop there and come up. So don't forget to hit that subscribe button. This is another, probably the last reminder, because you don't want to miss what's coming at 6:30. It's not my video. I'm not uploading it. There will be a short video from me, but just so that I can put that up to get the link so that you can all go and watch what is coming. You definitely want to watch it, and you'll definitely want to share it across as much social media as you can. We want to get as much traction on this because it is going to be big. Anyway, I shall stop there. We can leave Humza Yousaf to go and, you know, take the knee to China, ignore all the human rights abuses, ignore the fact that they are a threat to national security, and for him to sit there and suck up on the international stage, which again, I noticed that there isn't a Foreign Office man present, so you have to wonder what they were talking about. Is he giving state secrets again? Who knows? I think MI6 need to have a word. Anyway, till next time, stay safe, stay well, and I will speak to you probably at 6:30. Bye.